Hi there.
Hi there from 3 different time zones.
That is the most time zones that Silhouette's JV podcast has ever. This is a record.
I agree. This is a record, and records are made to be broken.
Records are made to be records. Sherry.
Brill building.
Record 45. It all comes together.
And we're back. Yes. Welcome to Silhouette's JV podcast. I am Gia Toxie.
And I am David Benaria. We are your hosts of the deepest dive into Jersey Boys. Yes. Thank you, Bobby. Yes. There we go. And the deepest dive into Jersey Boys you have ever taken, you ever will take, you are currently taking with the sun, the moon, and the stars all on the one. All right.
Yes. And this is our 43rd episode, which is wild. Yes. Wow. Woo! Yeah, the crowd goes wild.
It really is.
Here, it's true. With our friend who is back, Tony nominated J. Robert Spencer is here. And OG Miles Aubrey is here as well.
In the Zoom studio.
Of course.
There we go.
Yes.
So as you all know, J. Robert Spencer, Tony nominated for Next to Normal. Originated Nick Massi in the original Broadway company.
Yes.
A guitar player extraordinaire. Bobby came, we all came together and we did a benefit concert for Feeding America. That was an amazing concert. Played some original tunes, played some Next to Normal, played some Jersey Boys. It was
some country.
It was all great.
Yep.
So
I love it.
That was a great online concert. I really enjoyed that. I'm glad that we do that.
Us too. It came together. And thank you to Howard Tucker for putting that all together too.
Of course.
And listen, as Frankie says, it was all great. And of course, we got Miles Aubrey, who he was doing Ring of Fire when Bobby Spencer brought him on board to Jersey Boys, and he played Norm Waxman.
And Jip DeCarlo.
You covered Jip and Nick Massi, right?
Yes, and I covered Gaudio on the first national.
Whoa!
Oh, there you have it.
Yes, I actually sang "Cry for Me" back in the day.
Awesome.
Hey,
Miles, I did not know that.
I covered Nick and Jip. Yeah.
Oh wow.
Well,
you guys are right. You guys are right. You know, Miles was doing Ring of Fire with that great actor. I'm blanking on his name right now. Come on, Jared.
Jared Emick.
Yes, Jared Emick was in that, and I saw y'all's preview, and I just knew, I was like, shoot, this isn't going to last. And I think it lasted how long? How long did it last, Miles?
I want to say it was somewhere like 6 weeks, 7 weeks.
6 weeks.
So when I knew it was closing, it was I know Donnie Kerr was leaving our show, and we needed immediate replacement. And you were in town because you were doing this Ring of Fire that was closing. I was like, you guys got to get Miles Aubrey, and I was like, you got to get Miles Aubrey. He can do it all. And I told him that we had known each other since 2001. We had done a show down at the Grand Ole Opry in Nashville. Yeah. And luckily, you went in and kicked ass, and you got the gig, man.
Ooh, thank goodness. That was a game changer. And really, to this day, Bobby, Eric and I both have always thanked you so much for making that introduction to Tara Rubin and mentioning me to her and just putting me on their radar. And,
Richard Hester too was a big play in that. I gave your stuff directly to Richard, and he was just totally like, "Oh, sure."
It
so
was great. And
big player.
They put me out on the first national for about a year.
Yeah. Wow.
And I'll be honest, I was about ready to just put my notice in because I was away from my wife, and I was just like, I've been out a year and a half. I need to go back to New York, be together. And then Donnie booked Billy Elliot and left, and they moved me just in time. And then I was there for another 7.5 years in New York. So
wow,
7.5 years.
7.5.
When were you on the tour?
I started the first national, so that was
okay.
When we started in San Francisco.
Right. Okay. Oh, wow. Nice.
First national, and then I did that for about a year and a half, and then they moved me to New York in summer of 2008.
We just saw your good friend Chris Colley Jones do Jersey Boys up in St. Louis.
Oh yeah! Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, we got to go.
He was our Frankie out on the first national. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. So then you did Broadway. I saw you play Norm 3 times.
Oh.
Fucking amazing, man. Come on.
Well,
watch your mouth.
It'll probably be the greatest meal of my life. And here's just a little something. I just realized I have this on my desk here. This is the mustache.
What?
My first national tour Norm mustache, and they signed it, framed it when I left the tour to go to New York. So I look at it every day.
Oh, that's really awesome.
That's wonderful.
Now,
yes,
I want to point out, I will want to point out, because you all don't know, but now you will, behind Miles is a portrait of a donut poster. Now, I'm just going to say Miles is a huge donut fiend. He loves donuts. So, Miles, what is the significance of that poster behind you, please?
I know, and it's, my stupid ring light's causing reflection, but this is Fox's Donut Den, which is a really great old school donut store here in Nashville. It's been here, 40, 50 years. And it's one of my favorite donut shops in Nashville. So yeah, that's the Donut Den.
Yeah.
And,
wow, now we know.
I am so picky with my donuts. Like I it's just like Dunkin' Donuts don't even with me. That's not that's not it. That's not. I love Krispy Kreme, but I have yet to find yes, thank you. I have yet to find a good, local donut shop that I like, because
donuts.
I don't love it though.
No, it's like one of those gourmet donuts. Yeah. Kind of like gourmet cupcakes, they're that weird family.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I used to like dough a lot. And then we were there, my wife and I were there about 3 weeks ago in the city for a couple of days, and I noticed that they were gone from the city kitchen there on 44th and 8th. So I don't know if they closed during the pandemic or what.
Oh, geez, probably.
They actually reopened. So the one I know, there's one in Flatiron and there's one in Astoria that opened over the summer.
Okay. And what part of town do you live? Where do you guys live?
So I live in Manhattan. We're in my apartment right now in Columbus Circle, and she lives in Astoria.
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I can send you a list of great donuts in New York.
Please, because
all Miles Aubrey is sponsored by all of the donut shops in New York.
Literally, I can't keep trekking all the way to Times Square every time I want a fucking donut,
No.
So.
I got you. Hey, Bobby, by the way, you're in Oregon, right?
I am.
So how close are you to Portland?
I'm close, but Voodoo Donuts is 15 minutes from me.
All right. Well, Blue Star Donuts is where it's at in Portland.
Oh, Blue Star Donuts, absolutely. It's in the airport, PDX. In fact, it's really the best. Blue Star Donuts, absolutely. Yeah. We were just talking about the other day. We were like, we prefer Blue Star to Voodoo. But anyway, all right, no more donuts. Back to music.
All right.
Yes.
Back to music. So
I don't want
you guys,
cavities.
Salud. So you guys are doing some shows. You guys are playing together. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Well, I asked Miles to join me. I had been working on a show prior to COVID, and my management team called me towards the end of 2019. We're like, hey, we know you can put together a show. Come on. With the amount of people that we've met over the years and the supporters we have as the Midtown Men, I know if you put together something, we could book it. So there was 5 people that were supporting me and like, yeah, we'll book Bobby. So I put together this show. And then when COVID happened, that show didn't happen. That show was originally 5 band members behind me. And I was definitely telling what I am, which is the story of 7,000 miles of Broadway, yellow station wagon with wood paneling, with the greatest 8-track stereo and car radio on the planet, and listening to it, driving down the highway, moving from state to state with my parents and my sisters. And at that time, the music was incredible because I was listening to what I sing in the Midtown Men, the Mobs and the Papas, the Turtles, the Zombies, the Rascals. But now you got to think about the 70s, whether it was country or rock, it was Peter Frampton or Jackson Brown or Willie Nelson or George Jones. Mm-hmm. So there's all this eclectic variety that I was listening to as we were cruising across the country. And so that was the form of it. COVID hit. Now I pick up my acoustic guitar a lot more than normal. And now I start working on my show more. And then it starts transforming more into, I don't know, just transformed into something I felt more comfortable with, rather than doing like more of a jazzy standard show with 5 musicians. I was really simplifying it down to just myself and thinking a piano. And then the more online shows I did, I was kind of workshopping this thing. And then when it came time, when we booked these gigs in Texas, I was really like, I promise you, I'm sorry to be so long-winded about it, but it was a long process for me to function and go, what do I want? Do I want a piano? Do I want a full band? What do I want? And I finally was like, I want a guitar. I want a guitar. I need a guitar for what I need to do. and I need one of the best guitar players and singers that I know, and that's Miles. And there's also this personal history we have with Jersey Boys. There's that instant connection that we can bring to the table when we perform our show. We have a country connection back in 2001 because we did an original production directed by Gabriel Barry and produced by Carolyn Rossi Copeland called Stand By Your Man, about the story of George Jones and Tammy Wynette. Now, it was 2001, and I am a drummer since 4th grade, so that's one of my special skills. So when this casting call came for, they need a drummer and an actor for this show that's going to Nashville to perform at the Ryman Auditorium, I was like, are you kidding me? The Grand Ole Opry? Say what? So I go into the New York audition. At the time, I had really long hair and a full beard. And I sang a song on my acoustic. I sang Take It Easy by the Eagles. And then David Lutkin, our music director, I sat down behind the drum set and he said, "You know any George Jones?" And we went right into, you know, The Race Is On. And I got the gig. Fast forward to the rehearsal room. There is Miles. There are all these other Nashville musicians who can all play the crap out of their guitars and their instruments, but also act really, really great. And we're with this amazing director. And to be honest with you, in 2001, Stand By Your Man was the Jersey Boys before Jersey Boys. And had we gone to Broadway, we would have been the Jersey Boys before Jersey Boys. Swear to God, it was that great of a show that Gabriel Barry was putting together, because he and Des as directors are different but similar. They're similar in the structure of they like it to be like seamless and go, 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 right?
Yeah.
But they're still different in their whole approach to directing. But stylistically, I think they're so similar. But Gabriel put together this incredible show of at least 35 different songs that I had to learn on drums. And I was also had a click track. So I had to go like, and put everybody into the show. So there I was. To this day, I think it's one of the best. Even though, yes, Jersey Boys and Next to Normal, I know it, they're great, but I have a special connection to that show, to performing in Nashville on that stage. And that's what my show discusses this time around, which is, you know, my roots come from the farms. My mama and papa had a farm. My grandfather, John Spencer, had a feed store. So there was this huge connection to farmland and to country music and to going back for family vacations and holidays, and everybody had a guitar and was singing. And that just came at a time when I needed to hear it. So when I was putting the show together and structuring it more in this fashion of more country, more rock, more Broadway, rather than just standard whatever jazz or whatever, it just took like a turn. And it's hard to not be self-indulgent talking about yourself. So that's what I've tried to do. And with Miles coming on board, he can give me anything. I'm like, I want rockabilly, he can play it. I want country, he can play it. I want Broadway, he can play it. I want Jimmy Webb, he can play it on piano. So it has opened up my creative outlet of like, oh, now that I have Miles, I can do this. So I don't know. This sucker is just long-winded, but it has evolved more than I thought. My friend Thomas will be stage managing, and we have a lot of imagery that'll be going on behind us. But I don't know. I wanted to do something I think people are going to walk away really enjoying the show based off of the songs I've selected, based off of the storylines and the stories involved. But also there's a lot of nice intimate moments that Miles and I can just share together on stage. And also we open up with 5 songs, just slam it out. We don't do anything but slam it out. I'm on drums, he's on guitar, and we very Black Keys it at the very top of this show. So it's a very Black Keys thing. So Miles, you talk now. I'm going to shut up.
I mean, you know, I'm just so tickled that you thought of me. You know, like you said, Bobby and I go back, 20 years, and I have such fond memories of that show and of Bobby. He was a force in that show. He was hilarious. He was a super talented actor, great drummer. We had a great time, and a lot of shows of the last 2 years have been sort of derailed by the pandemic. This was a show that was derailed by 9/11. 9/11 literally happened like, the day before our opening night, and it changed everything, the trajectory of that show. And but it's really wonderful, I think, in this day and age when you can have a full circle moment. And here's Bobby and I, 20 years later. We worked at the Ryman together in this country musical. We did Jersey Boys together, and we did actually overlap for a little while. when they moved me, he was still there. And I remember I was starting to cover Nick, so I had to shadow you a few times and follow you around and all that, take the notes, and which was really special. And and here we are all these years again later, and now we're going to perform together and sort of revisit Jersey Boys memories, revisit some country memories, just rock together, just a couple of dudes, on the road. And I just, I'm kind of a sentimental guy anyway. Well, no, not kind of. I really am a sentimental guy. And so this is going to be really special for me. And so I'm just excited to be a part of it and to offer Bobby whatever support he needs. Like I said, he wants me to play piano in this song, I'm going to do it. If he wants me to rock some guitar, I'll do it. Or get off stage and get out of the way, I'm going to do that too. So, it's going to be great.
Nice too. It's nice having Miles too, because he's a great singer. And we opened with Johnny B. Good, like a rockabilly version of that, into Pride and Joy by Stevie Ray Vaughan, into Elvis's Baby What Do You Want Me to Do, into some Tom Petty, into an acoustic version of My Eyes Adored You. And then we get into the stories in the show. So we just wanted to kind of slam it out like Austin City Limits.
That got him. That's the one that got him.
Yeah. But as I'm learning as I'm learning the Texas Shuffle on the drums for the Pride and Joy Stevie Ray song, I've been practicing that for a very long time. And when you try to sing on top of that Texas Shuffle, I finally said last night, I called Miles. I go, Miles, will you please just sing the Stevie Ray Vaughan song at the top of the show so I can just be a drummer? And that's the thing, is like, that's the kind of show I want to have. I want to have it be very personal, which it is, but also it's like, I want Miles like, hey man, take this song because you can. Just do it. Just sing it. I don't care. It's not even though the show is about me, I always want to incorporate as much as I can of all the talent on the stage. And what I love about when I have been doing the Midtown Men is I have so much opportunity to do that to the 7 guys behind us that jam out, and I always have loved that kind of Dean Martin, loose, Frank Sinatra, Johnny Carson kind of vibe. And that's also, even though our show is structured, I also I was telling Miles today, we had an hour rehearsal. I was like, hey, when I get to the spot, just wait till I point to you and then go. Even though it's structured, there's a loose to it, because I know he knows his gig. I don't have to worry about him. I don't have to worry if he's going to play it right or not. And knowing that that's the nice thing when you're trying to put together a show like this. You have to be the director and the producer and think about everything that you're trying to do and hope that everyone will enjoy it. You also have people on your team where you have to go, hey man, just grab the wheel and go.
Yeah.
And I can do that with Miles and with Thomas Cabot, our stage manager. So thank goodness,
And I think, and this might be like so obvious or so like, but as we get older and as we get more in touch with ourselves and our talents and our passions and what we can do, that's like the meaning of being a professional. Like when you're a professional, you know what you're doing and you can trust, and like as a colleague, you can trust that the professional next to you, especially especially like 2 people like you guys who are so connected and are so bonded, you trust each other implicitly. Like, yeah, just take the wheel and go.
It's also because, Miles is a truly great musician and we speak the same language. Like when we work together, I go, man, I wanted to, like the 1950s section when I'm talking about it. Yeah. It's like, can you, I don't know, play like a Buddy Holly or Everly Brothers? He goes, yeah. Plays. I go, okay, yeah, that. So it's if I ask it, we can hear it. And I don't know. Today was a really, we've been rehearsing, like we meet once a time on FaceTime every like couple of months, have been for the last month and a half, I should say. But today's rehearsal really kind of, to me, was like, okay, good.
And so you guys haven't even rehearsed in person yet.
No, that's the thing, man. It's all being rehearsed right here.
A few hours that day, the day of the show. But, it's one of the things that is sort of my niche in this business. I have 2 careers that are separate. I'm an actor and I'm also just a sideman, a touring musician, a session musician. And so, I've always prided myself on being one of those musicians who can just go with the flow. And you have to be able to just, take a solo when somebody points to you and be ready. You have to be able to, add a tag or double the chorus or end it, you have to be ready. And so I love that. I love having a little structure, knowing kind of what's going on, and then just going for it. I love that. So we're gonna have a blast.
Yeah.
So you guys are all gonna be alternating instruments and everything.
he is going to be solely like he's going to have a couple of songs where he is on piano, and most of the time he is on either electric or acoustic. And for me, I am like on the drums, and then I'm standing, you know, just there, just conveying the song and the message and whatnot. So yeah.
You may play acoustic on a couple tunes.
Oh, I do. We're going to do it's what's fun is one of the things that I was talking to Miles about. We had such a great time in Nashville, and one of the greatest things that we're going to be able to do is just sit there with our acoustics together on stage. And because when we were working on that show in Nashville, you have to understand we were with Jim Lauderdale, Grammy Award-winning bluegrass country artist Jim Lauderdale, who's playing George Jones, all these other great Nashville musicians. And at the end of when we were rehearsing the show in Flat Rock, North Carolina, for about 3 weeks before we went to the Ryman. It was kind of like a out-of-town tryout, working, I think, before the Ryman.
Yeah.
And it was there. We get done with that show in front of that little, maybe 150-seat little house. The audience loved that show. And then we'd go on the back porch, have beer, and we'd pass the guitar around. And everybody would play a song. And I remember Miles would play his original country songs. And when he'd get done, all those country boys were like, "Oh my damn, Miles!
What incarnation?
That's a good song, man. That's a good song." I mean, really, Miles has been writing songs for years, and honestly, all of us on that porch, even back in 2001, jaws were to the floor, like, "Do you write that? Holy crap, man!" You know, shoot, that's good. And I remember our Nashville musicians kept trying to stump people, and like David Ludkin. David Ludkin knew every country song. You know, that slide guitarist Kevin would try to stump him every time, and Ludkin was like a country jukebox. So that's a great section of our show where we can kind of talk about this, and then we're going to play some Merle Haggard, some Willie Nelson, some George. So it's fun. It's a good moment.
Have you guys been to Nashville before?
Never. No. I need to go. I'm dying to go.
Never been to Tennessee. I think the farthest south. I don't know. Have you been farther south than Missouri?
Yes. So my dad actually lived in Blairsville, Georgia. Do you ever go there in the Blue Ridge Mountains? Yeah. So I've been to Tennessee once. I was at a Walmart in Tennessee on the border, but that's about it. No, but we've been dying to go to Tennessee. And what's cool about how you guys are working together, you both sound like you're like the Brian Wilson of your own little group, you know? No, it's true, because it's what you're saying about being a studio musician. I really never got a taste of that until I watched Love and Mercy.
Oh, that's
have you seen that movie?
Oh,
I know.
Yeah. Paul Dano knocks it out of the park.
Yeah,
I agree.
No doubt,
so
no
good.
Doubt.
Yeah. Studio musicians, session musicians are.
And you do have to know everything.
Best of the best, and you know, some of those musicians are playing on Broadway every night.
Right.
You know, and these people who can just come in and sub on a show that they've never ever played before. You know, I call them kamikaze sight readers. You know, it's just nuts.
Yes, and the fact that you are ready for everything, I think that's something that a lot of people might be afraid of to do, and it's just such a discipline. So
taking the leap,
I've always said that if life ever brought me back to New York at this point, I would be happy just to be a pit guitar player. I love that work. I did some of that before, actually, in between Ring of Fire and Jersey Boys. I did some pit work playing guitar in Altar Boys.
Nice.
Right there at New World Stages back in the day. And,
wow.
I think that was at stage 1 too.
No way.
Hey, Miles, will you please just say, because Chris Stapleton's one of the greatest country artists that's come out in several years. We just talk a skosh about the last couple years back when you were actually on the road performing with a country artist, and then you got to open for Stapleton. Can you tell us a little? I just want to know. I want everyone to know.
Please.
And here, in fact, I called Miles at some point. I go, okay, come on, Chris Stapleton, tell me something. So tell us something.
Is he a son of a bitch?
I've got a poster on the wall in here from the tour, because I was playing for another artist, and we opened for Stapleton for about 2 weeks.
Wow.
Which was a real treat. So we did at least one show in New York, actually, maybe out near Islip. But so you know, how does he hook up? What's his gear? Tell me. You're like Bobby.
What's his rig?
It's so simple.
It's so simple. He plays like a Fender Jazzmaster, straight into like a Princeton. He may have changed his rig since then, but it's still basically guitar, amp, couple of pedals, nothing much, little small band, and he just kills it. He's so good. His songs.
And that's all she wrote.
Voice is so good. He doesn't need anything else. He doesn't need any fancy theatrics, But we moved back here in 2015, just about 6 years ago, and I was fortunate to go on the road and open for the likes of Miranda Lambert, Chris Stapleton, Willie Nelson, Dwight Yoakam, Tim McGraw, and Faith Hill.
Whoa.
Did the thing, we're in the UK, went to Australia, Canada, and that was great. That was nice because my life has always been these phases. Like, okay, I'll go do theater for a few years, and I'll just play guitar, and then I do shows like Jersey Boys where I get to act and play guitar. And so it was kind of nice to be back in just sort of musician mode for a few years. Just focus on that. Just nothing but play guitar. And so I've been fortunate the last few years to stay busy.
What was cool at the Midtown when we're somewhere in Florida?
Yeah, that's right.
Woke up in the morning. I woke up in the morning. I'm in the lobby because I'm always up early. I'm in the lobby having coffee, and there is Miles Aubrey going, Bobby? And I'm like,
that's right.
What are you doing here? And he goes, I'm on tour. I got a radio thing we're driving to. What are you doing here? It's like, I performed there last night. We're leaving for another gig right now. So there we were in the lobby of this place in Florida, man.
Amazing.
That was about 3 or 4 years ago. I don't know, 3 or 4 years ago, whatever. But we bumped into each other right there in Florida.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's awesome. And then you guys, Midtown Men, performed a couple times in Oxford, Mississippi.
Yes, we did.
Where my dad and my stepmom live, and she books at the Ford Center, and you guys get to meet my dad. So
they came backstage. Yeah,
each other around. So yeah.
I thought that was a cool move, though, that you went from Jersey Boys to just being a musician, because you can handle all of it. But the fact that you went on that trajectory, I was just like, I was like, perfect. It really just it was like, you're like a good country Keith Richards, Will. Richards, you're not I don't think you're Keith Richards as far as like the partying, but you're that amazing, you're that Richie Sambora, that people want when they're on stage. You're that guy, man, that everybody, you're the Obi-Wan with the guitar, baby. Come on. You're the Obi-Wan with the guitar.
That's Obi-Wan with the guitar. Perfect.
Keith Richards with the mustache.
Yes.
With the waxy mustache.
Well, also, wait, can we talk about, I love that we're talking about country music, because I feel like that, of course, with Jersey Boys, just not something that really comes up a lot. And particularly for like the New Englanders, like everyone just brushes off country music. But, and the fact that, Bobby, when you said that the show you worked on in 2001 could have been the next Jersey Boys, why isn't there, right? Why aren't there country
music is storytelling. It is all storytelling and beautiful melodies and beautiful lush chord structures. I'm like, this needs to happen. And
talk about a niche, right, Miles? It's unbelievable what you can do.
Well, I won't say too much, but I am next year, I think, working on a new Dolly Parton musical, directed by our friend Gabe Barry, Bobby.
Oh, way.
Yeah.
So another full circle thing. And
it is.
So it's in development. It's early on. We may do a little out of town in Florida, and they may try to get it to New York soon. It's a small, 2-person off Broadway, kind of thing. But it has Dolly Parton music, has her blessing, I believe.
That's amazing.
Really?
Are you going to be in it? Are you playing? Are you?
It's early, but I think the plan right now is I would be music director, playing guitar in the band, and then step out and do some roles similar to the Tammy Wynette, similar to even Jersey Boys in some ways, a little bit of those.
I love when a music director is not at the keys. I'm not at the keys, not conducting. It's so Charlie Rosen, who is a Broadway music director and also does arrangements and orchestrations, most namely and recently Be More Chill on Broadway. He plays he plays everything, but his main instrument is the bass. Wow. So he's he does all these shows at 54 Below. He's conducting, but he's also playing upright bass, and it is one of the coolest. Yeah, it is one of the coolest things I've ever seen. So
I need to see that.
I mean, honestly, piano is the one that makes sense because you can
It
still
makes
keep
the most
going
sense.
as
Exactly.
right?
Exactly.
When
Yeah.
I was in Nashville and we were rehearsing, upright bass made me think of this. Brad Albin is the musician's name. He was our upright bass player. He played several roles in that show, Tammy Wynette, that Stand By Your Man. But this guy's played with Vince Gill. This guy's played with everybody. I'm only mentioning Vince because that's the only name I can think of. But you have to understand that I was a New York actor, musician, hadn't sat behind a drum set in a long time. And when you don't, you lose your pocket. You could like be a little too fast, a little too slow.
Sure.
And Brad Albin was always so awesome and patient with me. I've never recalled Brad's voice going above a 5.
That's Brad.
And he had this upright bass. He'd be playing. He would always say to me, "Kick back a little bit."
Yeah.
Okay. And he'd go, "There you go. There it is. There it is." And
Sounds like a bassist.
And as the show went on, I found my pocket more and more. I got my pocket back, my click back because of Brad.
That's
Brad was really detrimental to that. He was instrumental to that. I mean,
Yeah.
and he was instrumental to that. And it's just one of those fond memories. I have so many, but I can just, here I am. I'm like, okay, I'm learning. Like I've got a brush in this hand.
Right.
Because most of that country, George, is that it's got a lot.
Right.
Mhm.
That's thing. So that with Brad next to me, that was just a great learning experience. You just have to have no ego and just trust this Nashville group, man, because I was the rock and roller,
Right.
And it wasn't, I really didn't even get back into country until COVID. Like on my guitar, I actually didn't know any country when I got my guitar and I started playing that thing and learning it. I spent the time actually just writing and learning my songs.
Right.
And and it wasn't until COVID, that's when I brought out the Jim Croce, the John Denver, the Kenny Rogers, the Garth Brooks, the Alice in Chains. We're not doing Alice in Chains in our show, but I was just hitting it all. So again, in the course of that, it made me go, you know what? I can't over country my show but I have to have country part of my show because it's part of me.
Of course.
Yeah.
It's part of you and it's a part of your relationship with Miles.
Yes,
and
totally.
It really all ties everything together. And before
and
we
the
go,
American fabric.
Yes,
so,
it does.
Yeah.
It does.
So before we go any further, for anyone who is listening to us that lives in Texas right now, where is this show going to be?
Oh, I don't have my information in front of me. I should have pulled it up. No, I know that.
No worries.
No, Miles is pulling it up. November 16th, we'll be in College Station, Texas at the Rudder. What's it called? The
Rutger Theater?
Rudder.
Rudder
Yeah,
Theater.
Rudder Theater.
Thank you.
You
The
have it?
Rudder,
You guys have it?
RUDDR. Now, the thing that's amazing, we've sold over 800 seats at that theater. We're very happy and very nervous. That's a good chunk of crowd. That would be interested in seeing my little ditty of a self-indulgent show.
That's more than some of the Broadway theaters.
Yeah. But the November 18th at the Hills Performance Hall at the Eisemann Center
in Richardson, Texas.
In Richardson. That one has 93 tickets sold. Now,
Performance Hall.
Oh, as of now.
As of now, we have 2 weeks left. But here's the deal.
Yeah, 2 weeks
I
left.
actually talked to Miles about this today because over the last week, I've been watching the sales and stuff. And you know what was so great about the people at the Eisemann Center? They're supporters of the Midtown Men and they're supporters of me. And they literally they had booked me, but COVID canceled that concert. So while we're in College Station, we made a call like, hey, we're in College Station. Can we come to Richardson? And the people there were so nice and said, you know what? Our black box, our small studio black box is booked. But let's roll the dice. Let's try to book you in the big room. Why not? We don't care. Let's go for it. So with their blessing, we went for it. Now at the moment, hey, marketing hasn't worked out, whatever. They're doing everything they can. 93 tickets have sold. So I called and I was saying, maybe we should pull this show. And then I'm driving around the car yesterday talking to myself like I do. And I go, you know what? What bums me out is that there's actually 93 people interested in hearing what I had to say. Right. And I'm like, I want 93 people to see this. Like Miles and I had my rehearsal today. In the midst of it, I told him just that. I go, it bummed me out. I was like, I don't want to cancel because there's actually 93 people that want to see the show. I mean, so the Eisemann Center are the same. They feel the same way. They're like, just go for it.
Yeah.
Well, let's just do it, not worry about it. My management team's like, hey, gives you a second opportunity to do your show a second time. And I'm like,
Exactly
yeah, let's
right.
do it. So Miles had the same energy and attitude I did, which is like, hey, 93
And,
people is
there's
93
still 2 weeks.
people.
There's still 2
Exactly.
weeks, so more people are going to buy tickets. People wait to the last minute sometimes.
Yeah.
They love to wait.
Yes, especially now because everyone's figuring out everything.
Exactly.
Budgets. Yeah.
But I'll
They'll show
tell
up.
you, it's thankfully, at least here in New York, people aren't, a lot of people aren't afraid to come out. We've been to a few shows, a few Broadway shows, a few off-Broadway shows.
Nice.
And Gia's been in some comedy shows, and thankfully there have been a lot of people showing up.
Good sales.
So we know that people
You doing
will show up.
stand-up or something? You doing stand-up?
I'm in a little bit, but I'm in a sketch comedy troupe.
Oh, that's so cool. See,
Yeah.
okay, good. That's great.
Yeah.
Hope
Thank
that's going
you.
well for you.
Yeah, she
It's going
has
great.
she has her next show tomorrow night. So everyone, the Eisemann Center, let's fill up that fucking hall right there.
November 18th,
at 7:30
7:30
p.m. Guys, 700 miles to Broadway.
7,000.
7,000.
Yeah,
And I
7,000.
can't use that as a plug because you did the F-bomb. That was very
We can
bizarre, but I was
totally
saying-
do it again.
I was saying I can't use that for a commercial plug because you dropped the F.
We'll do it again.
We'll do it again, and you know what? We'll separate this part for you, but everyone who is watching or listening to this podcast, you're gonna get a double plug.
I sure hope that some people are in Texas are listening because I don't want to jinx anything. I'm nervous about my show. And I'm also excited at the same time. And I've spent so many hours thinking about it and constructing it. And the thing is, I'm 52. I've been doing this a very long time. So is Miles. We both have done different journeys and this and that, yet the same in so many ways. So when I'm constructing a show, the majority of my time, I'm a quiet individual thinking it all out of my head. And most of the time, if it works in my head, it'll work on the stage. And I kind of feel that this show's really going to work on the stage, and I'm really hoping and optimistic that I'll be right.
Of course it is.
Well, I remember when we were putting together our online show, all the meetings that we had. It was just so important to get that feel, to get which songs we wanted to play for that, and it worked in your head, and it worked. From your mouth to God's ears.
It's so funny you guys mentioned that because Miles and I are doing the same thing, like how the three of us worked getting ready for that online show. We would send like text messages of us talking. Hey, Bobby, it's me. Hey, Gia, what's up, David? And Miles and I say, hey, Miles. I'm like, Miles, you know what I want to do? Here's what we're going to do. We're going to do an acoustic version of My Eyes Adored You, and we're going to do it. And then I sing it to him. Well, because it's interesting because I've had a long time to think about it. I think about it as much as I can because I want to put on the best show I can. And again, without trying to be self-indulgent, it's hard. How do you talk about yourself without being self-indulgent? Well, you just got to speed through it and play great music and just hit the highlights. And I'm really happy with what we chose. And the roster is literally, again, Johnny Be Good, Into Pride and Joy, Baby, What Do You Want Me to Do? You Wreck Me, My Eyes Adored You, Texas in My Soul. We got some No Nanette from my high school.
Hey.
I know. I just, it's one of those things, High School Musical, when I was in high school, No Nanette. We got a song from that. We got a song from that leads us into my travels into New York, another Broadway show. We got Finian's Rainbow. We have Sideshow. We have obviously Jersey Boys and Next to Normal. And in the midst of that, we've got this, again, great Grand Old Opry section where we just get to tell some personal stories between each other and sing some Wichita Lineman. Yeah. So I'm thrilled to sing this stuff. And I also feel like it's a good balance of Broadway and every other song going on. What do you think, Miles?
Go ahead.
I think it's a great balance. And as I told you today, Bobby, people eat up hearing stories behind the scenes. They want to know what it was like.
Oh, yeah.
They want to know what it was like when you were disappointed with this or when this thing happened. They just want to hear your stories. And so I think, the people that know you and know your career, that know you did Next to Normal, know your Tony, know you did Jersey Boys, know Midtown Men, they'll just be enraptured by just sitting and listening. And then, we'll entertain them with some picking and some singing at the same time. it's gonna be perfect.
Yeah,
You want to hear something funny? My friend Ashley a million years ago told me. My friend Ashley a million years ago told me that No Nanette. It's one of those shows. Like if you're young and you're just starting, you can say like you were on a national tour of No Nanette. And they'll believe you because no one knows. Like no, it's like one of those musicals no one knows. Like Brigadoon, No Nanette. So it's like, oh, I was on the second national tour of No Nanette. Oh, really? Yeah, we ran from. You can make up. Yeah, I wasn't actually.
I was. Well,
and there it is.
The thing that's nice is that that show meant a lot to me when I was a kid, and the reason that we bring it into the show is because I talk about college, and then I mentioned, but I didn't even want to go to, and I think I said this maybe in our online show or another one, and the storyline is always like, I never actually wanted to go to college. My dad forced me to go to college, and I went to see the high school counselor who was like, well, you know, you sing, you dance, you do all this acting on stage, you know, why don't you audition for Shenandoah? And that's in the show when we start bringing in, and my first song was from my first lead in my high school musical, No Nanette. So there's this personalization to it, but also it's great music. And that particular song that I chose, that kind of came out accidentally. And that's what's happened as I've been trying to get ready for Miles, and I had to get ready. Also knowing I can't keep throwing changes at Miles, even though I haven't been.
Yeah, you can.
However, if I do, he fluctuates with it. He's the kind of guy that you want in your corner. If you want to change it, they can do it. They don't even hiccup or speed bump. They're like, yeah, no problem. So I knew I didn't have to worry about that. But once I started singing, you know, I want to be happy, but I won't be happy. And I was like, that fits perfect right there in that show. So it just comes through accidental moments and looking through. For this show, I've actually found 3 old notebooks that I've written in various spots over the past 21 months. And so that's what happened in the last several weeks. I've like, oh, I forgot about that spot. Oh, I got to write that in there. No, Nanette. Yeah. And so I don't know. It's been fun to do. And I'm just so glad that Miles is going to be with me. I'm so glad that people are going to be able to hear his guitar playing. I'm so glad they're going to get to hear what I've known for all these years, which is this is one of the most talented men in the business. And I'm very excited to share that. I really am. I really am. I love the musicians I have on the road with me, Midtime Man, anytime I can, to just like spotlight those guys. I love that. I love that because I suppose it's grown up watching the greats, Johnny Carson and Steve Martin and all these great talk show hosts that know how to pay homage to the people that are jamming behind them. Like Miles said, the personalization of it. And that's what was so great about watching old school stuff growing up, because they did that. They had such respect for each other, whether it was Sammy and Frank and Dean, or whether it was Chet Atkins and Jerry Reed, or whether it was, you know, there's this camaraderie that I think is so beneficial and important when you're in the entertainment world. And when you're together with a guy like Miles, you want to, a guy like Miles makes everything that you do better.
Right.
You know, and that's why I can slip into the comfort zone knowing like, hey, no matter how I sound, I'm going to sound good because Miles is playing behind me and Miles is singing behind me. And Miles, you know, is going to, I gave Miles quite a bit of theatrics in this. You got a lot of stuff you're singing too. You know, you got a lot, you got some lines, you got, I mean, it turned into a theatrical concert.
Yeah, it really has. And it's a great balance. And like, you know, it's funny, my wife and I both talk about this sometimes, that as much as we both love theater, doing theater, acting, being on stage, being the guy down center stage, I'm super comfortable being a sideman and supporting other people and just playing, and like, you know, I don't have to be the guy at all. So I love this. This is a perfect combination. I get, you know, I'll sing a little bit, I'll take some solos, I'll support you and your stories, and you know, it's just it's just gonna be the blast. I've been looking forward to this for months. I really
good.
Me too. So excited. So
good. Me too. We're gonna rock.
Just don't get behind on the vid.
No.
Hey, listen.
You guys are creating the big in
Oh
Texas.
my God!
That's
So
it.
everyone, so here's your plug. Go see J. Robert Spencer and Miles Aubrey in Bobby Spencer's show 7,000 Miles to Broadway. They're doing 2 dates, November 16th at Rudder Theater in College Station, Texas at 7:30 p.m. and November 18th at Hill Performance Hall at Eisemann Center in Richardson, Texas at 7:30 p.m.
Yay.
Boom!
Well done.
Yeah, so please go see this incredible partnership. It's a from a lawyer.
Yeah, it's on a handshake.
Exactly. From 20 years ago.
20 years ago.
It has
Yes,
been
from
actually. It has
Tennessee.
been a lot of ways. Hey, I'm hoping to
beautiful.
record it, and if we do a bootleg of it, we'll send it to y'all.
Please, we would love to see any
We'd
clips
love
that you
to.
have. Send them on over.
Yes.
We'll post them.
Yeah.
And I mean, can't wait to see where else the show takes you too. And not just
Yes.
Texas. I'm sure you guys will go so many other places.
If we get a good report, then hopefully it'll open up the doors, and if not, then I'll just go down in a blaze of glory. Take me now, whatever the song is. I don't know.
Well,
I
so-
don't know the lyrics. I'm sorry.
Before we wrap up, let's talk about Jersey Boys for a second. So when Donnie left, Miles, did you take over all of Donnie's tracks? So you were playing drums, and so can you just tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah,
Drums and guitar.
It's funny, when I auditioned originally for the first national and got cast as Norm, I didn't realize at the time that I was going to play drums. I showed up to rehearsals, and they hand me all my stuff, and they had me drum charts, and I'm like, wait a minute, nobody mentioned this. And so luckily I grew up in Oklahoma playing, had rock bands when I was a teenager and all that guitar. And so I've been in a kit and I could keep a beat, I could do some basic stuff. So luckily I was okay to do like Walk Like a Man and whatnot. But, yeah, I mean, that gave me a little job security. Like when Donnie left, and of course at that point I was the only other Norm around. They could have hired somebody new, but they thankfully decided to move me. They knew that I played guitar and I played drums, and I could just go right into Donnie's track and do it. So I've always felt that gave me job security, the fact that I could play both the instruments and, all that good stuff.
What was it like playing on a moving drum set?
Well, it was particularly tricky on Dawn. I was always nervous. I did, I don't know, 3,000 performances of Dawn, and I was always nervous every time because I'm not a drummer by any means, and so I get the click and I have to start that song, so I'm the first one, and so I was always nervous, and I was always really happy when my part was over and Kevin Dow could just take over as I left, and everyone, but it was great. I had a great time. I loved playing the drums. Now,
did you know how to read drum charts?
No, I mean, it's similar to music, so you kind of learn, that's the snare and that's that, and then you kind of just use your ear and just, at least I
the hi-hat's always like an X,
the little X,
right,
and the snare's always at eighth note, and the bass drum's always so it's like
Thank you for the music there. I didn't know.
My first song when I started playing drums, my mom took me to this music store, and I took drum lessons from this really cool jazz cat. And he was a short dude, very old, gray hair, and he had a cigarette dangling from his mouth, just like with his ash hanging on it. So we're in this small room, and he kept having this cigarette with this ash on it. And he taught me AC/DC Back in Black.
Whoa.
And so it was like, so it's like that was my first time reading drum charts, and I picked it up really quick. But the looking at it made sense. That's the hi-hat, that's the snare, that's the bass drum. It made sense to me. When it came to music itself, music notes didn't make sense to me. Rhythm notes did. Music made sense to me with my ear. I learned it with my ear. And if I would, and I figured it out on guitar with my ear, if it's simple chords and stuff. But I still remember learning drums from that guy, and Yeah, that drum chart my first time. It's so exciting, you know, when you're learning something that you love.
Absolutely.
So, Miles, when you started to cover Nick, what were some of the things you learned about Nick from watching Bobby?
Oh my gosh.
What did you learn not to do from watching Bobby? Is what you should say. Well, I learned to be a better actor. I learned to.
No, you know, I think. I mean, gosh, you know, I want to be careful what I say here, but I think Nick it's easy to overdo Nick. It's easy to say, oh, I'm going to be the quirky oddball who's a little intense and a little antisocial, and it's easy to overdo that. And Bobby played him with honesty and with simplicity and, you know, just a real honest intensity and a sincerity. And so I certainly remember learning that. And I think that, you know, I think that's one of the keys. You know, don't make him a caricature in any way. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and we've talked about this with Bobby a little bit. It's like, because Nick was the only one who wasn't alive when, you know, when Des and Nick, when Des, Rick Ellis and Marshall Brickman created the show. It's like that is the hardest thing to do, is not to have him become a caricature, and because you don't know anything about him. So from both of you, what did you do to ground yourself in that reality?
Well, let's let the man who originated the role speak to that.
It was interesting because 2004 and the internet was just starting, and I was in La Jolla. I was in at the Old Globe doing Lucky Duck, and on all my time off while I was working on that musical, I was researching Nick Massi, and I came across obituaries and columns about Nick and his passing, and what Frankie said in the obituary and what Gaudio said. And based off of that, I was starting to get my layers of Nick. And then in the context of that research, that's when I would find out, like, oh, Nick did the harmonies for these boys. He did all those harmonies. When Gaudio got really, really high and heavy with his musicality and like his Brian Wilson-ness, Nick was more to the like, okay, we don't need you, but hang over there. I'll tell you what to sing. But Nick was the real driving force of those harmonies in those early days. And that's something Gaudio said in those obituaries. So for me, it was learning that, but also I drove to Jersey and we hung out in the neighborhood at this great restaurant. Oh man, I am blanking.
Belmont Tavern.
Thank you.
Hey!
The Belmont Tavern with Broadway Jimmy behind the counter. And we walked in there because I was like, Jenny, I said to my wife, we're going to go and we're going to, like, you know, do what De Niro does. Man, we're going to research the neighborhood, go into this place. My wife's taking pictures and these guys are like, hey, what are you doing taking pictures? Who's this guy? What are you doing? Who's this guy? She goes, that's Bobby Spencer. He's my husband. He's playing Nick Massi in the new musical of Jersey Boys and the Four Seasons. So when everybody found out that I was going to be the Four Seasons, then everybody came over to me and just huddled me and sent love and drinks and cigarettes.
Yeah.
And it was an amazing evening. I learned a lot about Pesci and Nick Massi and DeVito and Frankie Valli in those 3 hours that night at the Belmont. So for me, I just decided I'm going to De Niro this as much as I can, learn the bass guitar as well. Something to go back to Miles said, he had to play drums. You know, when you were an OBC of JB, you had to be a quadruple threat.
Right.
In the day.
Everything.
I mean, I was learning bass and harmony, monologues, and dance steps.
Yeah.
And I think when we got to the point where guys like Miles and I, quadruple threats, were really hard to replace and find, then they're like, yeah, they'll just fake it. So they can do the dancing, the singing, and the acting, but the playing part at this point is just like, it doesn't matter. But it did matter when we started this gig. It did. You had to play all of it.
Yeah.
And I was glad to have been a musician that I got hired not just for the acting qualities, but for my musician chops as well, you know?
Yeah.
Of course.
And I just want to say, I think you're giving me way too much credit as a dancer to call me a quadruple
No.
threat. I'm a mover.
A strong
You
mover.
guys want to hear?
Singer who moves well.
Do you guys want to hear a funny story? So when we were
Yes.
talking to Richard Hester, when they were in La Jolla, I don't remember what day it was, but Richard Hester was in like a basement with Sergio Trujillo, and Sergio was showing Richard Hester the kind of moves that he wanted to teach you guys to do. And it was kind of more of Ain't Too Proud and a Bronx Tale. And Richard's like, these guys are never going to be able to do that.
I can remember Sergio and Kelly Devine pulling into the studio this old school rolling table that always had the TV on it. You always had you roll it in. The TV with the VHS built in, and Sergio was like, okay, we're going to learn these dance steps, and he would put them in the tape. And then it was black and white footage of the old school dance shows. And he would go, I'm going to stand. I'm in my pajamas, by the way. And he would go, okay, we're going to do this. So the four of us guys would be in the line, Sergio would be in front, Kelly would be behind us, and the four of us guys. So all of our hips could like move. So
oh my gosh.
Yep.
That's
you got it, Bobby.
trying to feel it. And I never forget, like we were studying all these old black and white tapes. And so he was doing it though, to see, well, what can these guys do?
Right.
Because Richard Hester was like, you're not going to be able to learn that. And that's probably Richard's like, oh, let's see what they can do.
Let's try this.
So he fit it to you guys. He fit it to what you guys could do. And the everyone we've talked to who's from the old days, from the OBC, from the original tour cast, it's like, it was just so raw. What you guys were doing, and obviously the Four Seasons weren't dancing like Temptations,
No.
Right.
No. It was cool. Just add that little layer of icing on it.
Yeah. I have to tell you that, so nowadays, for the last couple of years, I played for this amazing artist named Brooke Eden. And we played a lot of Pride festivals this year. And so we played Chicago Pride. And we added the song, I'm Coming Out. Diana Ross.
I'm coming out. I want the world to know.
So
what a great song.
I insisted that we add some choreography. So we literally did the triple pump step at the end of Who. The bass player, and there's video of us like doing the Who Loves
that's
You
cool.
stuff. I love it.
Amazing.
We have to find this video. That's so fun.
Need to find this video.
If you can find it, then you can show it right here at this point of the podcast while we're talking over it. That would be great.
Amazing. Awesome. Well, anyway, I think this is a perfect place to wrap up. Thank you guys again so much. Miles Aubrey, J. Robert Spencer, 7,000 Miles to Broadway, November 16th, Rudder Theater, College Station, Texas, 7:30 p.m. November 18th, Hill Performance Hall at Eisemann Center in Richardson, Texas, 7:30 p.m. Be there or be there. That's it. We got two options, be there or be there. Follow us, Silhouette JB Podcast on Instagram. Find us on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you can listen to podcasts.
And follow J. Robert Spencer.
Follow J. Robert Spencer, Miles Aubrey. Like and subscribe. And gentlemen, salud.
Thank you so much.
You guys appreciate the time. Thank you. Good to see you again, Miles.
Good to see you.
All right. Nice to meet you guys.
And Miles, we would love to have you on for your own episode too, so we can just deep dive even further.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I see how it goes.
Well,
Bobby, you had your time.
Where do I sign up? I'm out of here.
We love you guys so much.
Thank you,
Bobby, we'll of course we want to have you back on, just to to go through all that,
Amen.
All right. We love you, brother.
Yes,
have a good one, guys.
So much.
Thank you, David.
Bye.
Thanks so much.